Hi, Carl Kruger here, talking about Clause 9 of the ISO 9001 Quality Standard. This is about performance evaluation. You cannot improve what you don't measure. So Clause 9 ensures companies track and analyse their quality management system performance. By doing so, they have some sort of scale against which they can measure on that particular occasion. And then the next occasion when they measure it, they can see whether they're doing better or less well. If it's better, then they can record that fact and find out, or try to find out, why, so that they can improve things going forward. If it was less good, then they need to work out why, again, and work out what it needs to happen to ensure that that problem never happens again. Subsection 9.1 is about monitoring and measurement. Businesses must collect data on customer satisfaction. Remember, customers are the only people who ultimately decide whether the product or service you've made is of sufficient quality. It doesn't matter whether you think it is any good or not. If the customer is unhappy, they won't come back. And if that means you're missing out. Another aspect of this is process efficiency. If the product isn't made or the service is not created in an efficient way, so there's time wasting, resource wasting, skills wasting, where you have someone who's highly skilled doing a less skill requiring job, there are a whole range of inefficiencies that can kick in, and it's not wise to do this. If you remove those inefficiencies, you enhance the profits of the company or cut costs to the customer, making the product more exciting in the marketplace. And the other area you have to collect details on are the non-conformities. As mentioned in the earlier section, if you record when it went wrong, and when it went wrong, why it went wrong, and who did it, then you can address things. What went wrong, how and why, and who can then be addressed. Is it always Fred on line 3 that's making a mistake? And is it line 3 or is it Fred? And if it's only Fred when he's on line 3, and by the time you've got to the bottom of all of this, you'll know how to improve the system. It doesn't matter if this was Fred's fault or not. You need to know what happened and why. Once you know this, there are particular focuses you can apply to make changes. The next subsection is performance evaluation, section 9.2, which is carried out using internal audits. This is where your own people look at processes carried out within the organization, ideally other people's processes. Otherwise, you're looking at your very own work and you won't see any difference. You need to have that fresh pair of eyes to identify weaknesses, drive improvements, and crucially, but often forgotten, determine where the praise should be given. Because if someone has done something that's absolutely right all the way through and no one thanks them for it, they're not going to feel very satisfied. And they won't care to be paid to do that. You can still tell them that they've done the right thing and they'll feel even better about their job. So regular audits, and we're talking about at least once a year for every single part of the process, and far more often, the more important any particular procedure is. Regular audits help to identify the weaknesses that you can then address and drive improvement, because by addressing the weaknesses, you have improved your whole system. Finally in this section, 9.3, the management review. This is something very unusual and focuses specifically on the whole process of the ISO standard concept. Every year, at least once a year, but every year as a minimum, leadership with ideally an exceedingly high level of involvement, not just to tick this process off, must review the quality management system and ensure it's still effective and relevant. Remember back at the beginning we were looking at whether the policies and the determination or definition of quality controls that were needed were present? If those change, then this is the opportunity that the leadership has to make sure those changes are actually reflected within the system, working through year by year. It's vital to do this, because without that change getting recognized, then your systems get out of sync with what you need to be doing, and suddenly your customers are going to be complaining while you're saying, well, we did it perfectly according to the system. Yes, but the system is not perfect. So it all joins together when you get the management review and checking that this is okay. It's also a way that it can review the procedures and say they want to change an emphasis. Say they want to sell more at a slightly cheaper price, and therefore they need to reduce the effects ratios of various different sections, expand them in others, and that will change the whole way everything will fit together. That will shorten this procedure, increase that one, allow more people to do that with less skills, but ensure that it gets to the same quality because of these tests, or whatever alteration they may make. The point, though, is they can manage change in the company using the ISO system, rather than simply saying, we will now produce more at a lower cost, leaving everyone scratching their heads and saying, how? This is the way that gets put into play.